It's time for Recipe of the Day. There's this image for social media that I made a few years ago that always makes me smile because it is so true. At the top, it says recipe with a colon and then 1 clove garlic, comma, minced. And then it says me with a colon and shows a big pile of minced garlic. And that is just because I love garlic so much I can never get enough of it. And that is why I am so obsessed with this recipe for this very, very garlicky, extra garlicky, creamy shrimp pasta, but mostly so obsessed with the technique for getting that extra garlickiness. I've told you about it already because I've used it on that other garlic shrimp recipe. And I'm just going to apologize here and say I have a little bit of a cold with a bit of a hoarse throat. So that's why I sound like this. I feel fine though, and I am going to power right along. So yes, I told you about the extra garlicky shrimp recipe that I have where you basically cook some garlic and then saute the shrimp in it. And then you add uncooked minced garlic just towards the end. So it just cooks a little bit. And that is because we know that cooked garlic has a more mellow flavor and raw garlic is much sharper and more pungent. So here we're getting both. And this garlicky creamy shrimp pasta uses that same extra garlic flavor technique. And there's even an extra optional little bit of garlic powder if you just want all kinds of extra garlic flavor. So if that social media image that I created resonates with you, you are going to love this recipe. And actually, I will put that image on my Facebook page, on the Cook the Story Facebook page today. That's at facebook.com/cookthestory. And if you haven't seen that little garlic meme of mine before, you can see it there today. Okay, so how do you make this extra garlicky creamy shrimp pasta? First, you're doing 12 ounces of uncooked pasta, whatever kind you want to use, but I really like linguine or fettuccine here. And I'll say that the reason for that is that I think this recipe is very similar to like a fettuccine Alfredo with shrimp, except it has all that garlic and, you know, like a very traditional Alfredo in Italy doesn't even have garlic in it. I know, crazy, right? So because this one has such a potent garlic flavor, it didn't feel like true to call it Alfredo, but it does kind of have that vibe. Okay, so you're cooking 12 ounces of your fettuccine or whatever pasta according to the package directions, and then you're going to cut a 1/2 cup of unsalted butter into pieces and put it in a large skillet over low heat just to melt it, and then you are chopping 4 cloves of garlic, nice and minced, finely minced, but you're only adding 2 of it, half of it, to that butter in your skillet, and you're just going to saute that over low, really just infusing the butter with the flavor of the garlic and sort of softening that garlic a little bit. Then you increase the heat to medium and you're adding a pound of medium-sized raw shrimp. So these are like the 51 to 60 count. That means there's 51 to 60 shrimp per pound. And you want them already peeled and deveined, or if like the easy peel were on sale, you can get those. And I recommend that you have the tail removed here. So you either buy them without the tail or you take the tail off. And that's just because they're going to be in this like creamy sauce. And if they have the tail on, you have to use your fingers to eat them, and then you have sauce all over your fingers. So I find for pasta dishes like this, it is best to have no tail on the shrimp. So you want a pound of medium-sized peeled, deveined shrimp with the tail removed, and those are raw. Okay, you're adding those to the garlic butter along with 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and you're just going to stir and cook those over medium heat until they're cooked through and they've kind of like curled up and they're opaque and pink. Then you transfer the shrimp to a bowl or plate and loosely cover it with some foil to keep them warm. Set that aside. Use a slotted spoon to transfer them and leave all the extra butter that is in the skillet. In the skillet, we're going to use that. Then to that skillet, you're adding 3/4 of a cup of whole milk and 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. If you wanted to, you can use evaporated milk for either of those or both of them. It's just a little bit lighter. You're just going to make sure that you don't bring it up to a real boil because then it could curdle. The evaporated milk doesn't have the same fat content as the heavy whipping cream for sure, and so it does risk curdling at a higher temperature. So you're adding in that milk and cream, so 1.5 cups total of that dairy, and you're going to stir and cook that, bringing it up to just a simmer, like only just, then you take it off the heat and you stir in 3 ounces of shredded Parmesan cheese. That's going to be about 3/4 of a cup. And I mean the real cheese, not that powder in the container. So you want the shredded Parmesan cheese. And, it's often recommended that you shred it yourself just because it doesn't have that anti-caking agent on it, which can make sauces gritty, but up to you. Sometimes I do it and it's fine. Other times it's not. I have not figured this out. So you stir in that 3/4 of a cup or 3 ounces of shredded Parmesan cheese. Stir that in along with a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Stir that until smooth and set it aside. Now, by now your pasta should be ready. So maybe you've already drained it. You transfer the hot drained pasta to the skillet where the sauce is, and you add the shrimp into there as well. And you add your remaining 2 cloves of uncooked minced garlic. And then you use some tongs and you just toss and toss and toss. The garlic's going to cook just a little bit, but it's going to keep that really, really sharp garlic flavor. And then you can taste and add a bit of salt and pepper if you like. And then you're digging in shrimp, pasta, creamy sauce, and lots of garlic. Oh, I forgot the optional garlic powder. If you don't think that all of that garlic was enough for you, when you stirred in the black pepper and the Parmesan cheese to the sauce, you could also add a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder then. And garlic powder is different from fresh garlic because it kind of spreads out through everything in a much more even way. So that is a good reason to do that. It's not concentrated just in the little bits of garlic, but it's great with and without it. You are going to have so much garlic. It's going to be wonderful. Okay, I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is June 25th of 2025. And don't forget to go on Facebook, facebook.com/cookthestory to see my garlic meme posted there today. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, recipe of the day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.